Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Friday fUNfiltered. This is the place where we do have honest conversations about writing, about publishing, and marketing, usually marketing, but really without pretending that there's this magical formula that works for every single person. So I'm Carol Tetzloff, and I'm so glad you're joining us. And with me is...
Hi, I am Heather Ryder. And today we are going to focus in on one question that many people ask, sometimes I think more often quietly to themselves.
I think so too. So here it is. What is realistic to expect when I only have one book and a very small audience?
That is such an honest question. I think authors hear about people selling thousands and thousands of books and having big speaking engagements and growing platforms. And then they look at their own audience, which may include like 75 people, some relatives, a couple email addresses. Both of those email addresses belong to one relative, just it's not much.
Right. Exactly. And they wonder, is this even enough to even start, to even build from?
Yeah, exactly. So, Carol, what is the honest answer?
Well, the honest answer is that if you have one book or perhaps even two books and a small audience, it may not be realistic to expect thousands of sales quickly. Could it happen? Well, of course. A book may connect with the right influencer, or maybe an organization. It could be part of a media outlet or even a timely conversation and just take off. But that's not typical for most first-time authors. And saying that is not meant to discourage anyone. It's really meant to free you up from believing that you failed when your experience isn't exactly normal.
Yeah. And, we really hear about extraordinary success stories. Everybody talks about when things go really well. What we don't hear as much about is that author who is steadily finding readers, building relationships, and creating opportunities one at a time. So think about it, that extraordinary success story. How much of the story did you hear leading up to that success?
Exactly. That's so right. But that quieter progress is often how we do see the long-term momentum beginning. So you may publish your first book before you have much audience at all. Your first book, though, may be what helps you begin building your audience.
Yeah, it's really important to look at. So instead of asking only, how many books have I sold? It may be better to ask, what is this book that I have helping me to build?
Yeah, I've told authors a lot, like your first book is like your calling card. So good. Because your first book, so what your first book does is it helps you build readers. It helps you establish relationships and some credibility. You might get some speaking opportunity or ministry connections. And also, I think one of the most important things is you get greater clarity about your message. And those things may not immediately show up as a large royalty check, but they do matter. So Heather, let's talk about kind of the realistic progress and what that looks like early in the season. You already talked about it may begin with a small group of genuinely engaged readers, not thousands of people who scroll past your post without paying attention, but real live people that are readers. People who finish the book, people that are going to tell someone else about it. They might leave you a review. They may reply to your emails, or they may just simply tell you, this book helped me.
Yes. And all of those are so important. The early readers can teach you so much. They show you which of the stories stayed with them, which of the chapters met a need, what language they use when they're describing the book. All of that is really important.
Yeah, it's really important to pay attention to, and authors really should listen carefully to it. If several readers keep mentioning the same chapter, the same lesson, or perhaps a point in your book, that could actually point to a future podcast, maybe a topic that you could teach on, a speaking message, a resource that you could create, a Bible study, or even maybe the next book. The first season of your book is not about promotion, not only about promotion,
Mhm.
it also is about discovering how the message that you have is connecting to real people.
Yeah. And really, another realistic expectation is that the book may open smaller opportunities. In fact, let me change that. It will open smaller opportunities before it opens larger ones.
Absolutely. You may not immediately be invited to speak to some national conference, but you would be invited to a local women's group or a church class. Maybe there's a small ministry gathering or even someone doing your book in a group. And so you're invited into their club, or even people with smaller platforms that are trying to build as well. And they invite you in. I mean, collaboration is a huge deal.
Mhm.
So those opportunities should not be dismissed. The reality is sometimes smaller gatherings produce deeper conversations because people are there for that specific topic.
Absolutely. And a room of like 15 people who really need your message may produce more impact and often more book sales than a room of hundreds who just aren't the right audience. One small opportunity can then often lead to another. So, a group leader could recommend you to another group leader. A podcast host might introduce you to someone else, or even a reader may suggest the book that they read for her church or ministry group. That is how the momentum will grow, relationship by relationship. So never assume that small automatically means insignificant. So thinking back to Zechariah, and Carol is very familiar with this passage. She may have done a study on an important person in the Bible named Ezra. If you haven't done it yet, you should grab her Bible study. Just saying.
Hey.
So in Zechariah, when they're rebuilding the temple, and the Lord told Zechariah to not despise the day of small beginnings, God was rejoicing that they simply began the work.
Yeah, I mean, the work was hard in front of them. And as we read often in scripture, all the different projects that people were asked to do is, this monumentous project, but yet they had to start somewhere, even the 12 disciples. Jesus tells them, go into all the world. They're like, all the world, there's 12 of us. How do we do that? And
Right.
granted, there were more people on the mountain with them, but the idea of small beginnings is where it starts. It's a powerful reminder to do that. And I know personally from my own experience with Ezra, the Bible study, it came out 6 years ago, and it was a steady climb of just continuing to reach one person at a time. And as I did, probably year 3 started the momentum. Did you hear that? Year
3.
It wasn't year 1, year 2. It was just this steady plodding along. And so we just do the next thing, and we don't look at what everyone else is doing, because everyone started the same way. Yeah. So Heather, let's really talk about another important realistic expectation. Your book may sell steadily rather than dramatically. Many authors picture one big launch followed by these ongoing sales, but most books need to be reintroduced over time through fresh conversations, really engaging in the reader's needs and seasonal connections. Maybe you have some partnerships or speaking or group use. The launch is not the entire life of the book. It is just the beginning.
Yes. So that means that authors cannot just keep posting the cover and saying, in case you missed it, my book is still available.
Oh, please don't. That is our fUNfiltered public service announcement for today.
Yes, we'll get that one out of the way.
Seriously. So instead of repeatedly announcing the book, talk about the substance behind it. Teach something that is helpful. Answer questions that maybe people that have read your book have had. Tell a story. Share some short excerpt from your book. Maybe you can discuss a struggle that led to a certain chapter you wrote, or offer a practical next step. The book should be part of a conversation, not the only conversation.
That's good. So then, Carol, let's give some practical action steps. So what should an author who has one book, or maybe those who have a second book, and a small audience focus on first?
Yeah, great question. So I would focus on three things. Number one, help the right people discover you. Number two, give them a reason to stay connected. And number three, create ways for the book to be used.
That's good. So then we've got the three. Let's start with discovery and go a little deeper. Explain how authors can actually put feet to that.
Okay, let's see. So a small audience means that you cannot depend only on the people who already know you. You need to place your message in front of new, relevant audiences. So that could happen through, again, podcast interviews, guest teaching, local speaking. You could write articles. You could connect with the churches in your area or ministry groups. You might discover or try to create some book clubs or even collaborations, which I think is huge, using other people and their audiences and working together. But you don't have to pursue every opportunity. You just need a few consistent and intentional ways for people to find you.
Yes. And just to make sure everybody knows, social media is only one of those ways.
Right. Social media can be helpful, but it should never carry the full weight of your marketing, because one really good podcast interview may introduce you to more of the right readers than weeks of posting the same small group of followers. If you give your book to one ministry later, it may introduce you to an entire group. The goal is not simply more visibility. The goal is relevant visibility. That's really a huge thing.
Yeah, relevance is huge. So then once someone discovers you, then they need a reason to stay connected.
Yeah. Some people could hear you speak, listen to a podcast, or see a friend that recommended the book. But then what happens next? What step do you want them to take? Like, are they going to join your email list? Do you have the resource for them? Is there a clear invitation for whatever your next step is on your website? Do they know how to continue even learning from you? Because if there's no next step, they may appreciate your message and then disappear into the internet abyss forever and ever. Amen.
Yes. The internet is very good at helping people disappear. Sometimes it's just you get lost in the mix, right? There's so much out there.
And poof, they're gone.
So this is why building an email list really does matter, even when it's small, even when it does only have 2 emails and they're for the same person. That matters. It's a start. Don't be embarrassed by just a few or 50 or 100 subscribers. Serve them well.
Yeah.
Encourage them, teach them, ask questions, and invite replies. A small responsive audience is a real, genuine foundation. You can actually have good interaction with them and build relationship. These are the people who've already said, this message matters to me.
Yeah, that's so good. So important. Back to your Zechariah, don't despise the small beginnings, right?
For sure.
For the third focus, we can create ways for the book to be used. So this is oftentimes where authors think too small. And I love when we get to brainstorm about this with authors. They think about only selling one copy to a reader. But could the book be used in other ways? Like, could it be used by groups like a Bible study or ministry, a class that's happening on a Sunday morning at your church, or a counseling practice? Maybe your book is written and a leadership team could walk through it. Or again, even back to the book club, how can you get it into the hands of people who love to read? Yeah. Could you then think back, what can you provide? You could provide discussion questions, maybe a leader guide, or a virtual author visit, or even a companion resource. You're not going to try and turn your book into a full curriculum. You're simply making it easier for someone to picture using the book with other people.
That's good. Because a leader may love the book, but hesitate if they have to create everything for themselves. So think about equipping the person who can put the book into more hands. Maybe a simple discussion guide could help move the book from an individual purchase into a group conversation. So they're no longer looking at it just as their own study, but maybe a study for multiple. And then once one group uses it successfully, now you have a story, and you have a model that you can then share with others. So
yeah,
one to many. So, okay. So Carol, can we talk about sales goals for a minute? Should an author set a sales goal?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, goals can always be helpful, but sales should not be the only measure of progress. So there is no universal number for every first-time author that they should expect in their sales, because lots of things matter, like genre, audience size, the price that you're asking for your book, the author's involvement in maybe partnerships or speaking opportunities, and all that timing matters. So rather than building your entire plan around a number you cannot fully control, set goals around the actions that you can control. Like, how many thoughtful podcast pitches will you send each week? Or how many group leaders will you approach? How often will you email your readers? Or how many speaking opportunities do you want to pursue? How many meaningful conversations do you want to begin this week on your book topic or in what it surrounds? You can't force someone to buy your book, but you can consistently create opportunities for the right people to discover it.
I like that. Really, there may be significant signs of progress before you ever see sales numbers grow. So, like, is your email list growing? That's a very tangible way to see if you're having some movement forward. Are readers replying? Like, do you have interaction with them? Are reviews coming in? Are you receiving speaking invitations or invitations to small groups to bring your book and share? Are other people sharing about the book? Has someone asked about using it with a group? And are people beginning to associate you with the subject that you write about? All of those are signs that momentum is building. And truthfully, if we just peel it all back, that is the job. That's the ministry that's happening, is all of the in between. The sales is just the outcome of that.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that sales don't matter,
Yeah.
but sales all often follow the trust and visibility, the relevance, and those repeated connections. And those things do take time. So within this process, we as authors have to be careful about comparison. So don't compare your first book, your small audience, to someone who's written 8 books, spoken for 20 years, and built an email list of 50,000 people. You're not starting from the same place. The better question is, am I building something stronger than I had 6 months ago? Do more people understand your message and they're clear about what and who my book serves? Are you developing those stronger relationships? Have you created ways for your reader to find you and stay connected? If you can answer yes to those things, even in a small way, that's progress.
Yes, yes. And having one book does not mean you have little to work with. It means that this is the book you have, and work with it right now.
Yeah, don't treat your first book like a waiting room until the second one arrives. Right. Teach from it, create conversations, pitch interviews, offer it to groups to build resources, listen to your readers, because one well-positioned book can create opportunities for years when the author continues serving the people that it was written for.
That's so good. Okay, so Carol, can we leave our listeners or our watchers with a simple plan? So what can they do over, let's say, the next 90 days to really feel like they're helping to move the needle?
I'm glad you said 90, because it doesn't mean it's going to happen instantaneously. Yeah. It's a definite, continuous cycle. All right, so here's the 3 things. First, identify the clearest reader for the book and the most pressing need that it addresses. So that's your work beforehand. You got to figure this out in order to know how to move forward. Then second, choose 2 or 3 realistic ways that readers could discover you. So it might be the podcast or ministry groups, or speaking locally, writing an article for someone, or some kind of email partnership. And then Number 3, create one clear next step for anyone who discovers you. I think this is
Mm.
super important, and sometimes it's the hardest because it does take a little more kind of effort on our part. But it could be a resource that you deliver through email. It could be that discussion guide or a devotional to go with your memoir. It could be a checklist or another useful tool connected to the message. And while you're reaching new people, don't overlook the ones that you have already.
Yeah. Yeah. That may be the most important reminder of all. Your small audience is not just a small audience. Your audience is a group of real people. Serve them well, learn from them, encourage them, give them a reason to share the message with someone else, create relationship with them. Because when you have a large audience, you will not be able to create relationship in the same way that you can with a small one. That
Mm.
small audience that trusts you can become the foundation for everything else that follows. They can be your biggest cheerleaders.
Yeah, and if those people share your book with 1, 2 people in their circles, it's just gonna continue the reach. I can't
Mhm.
even tell you a book that I have purchased lately that someone didn't tell me about it. It's always because someone tells us. So, the realistic expectation for you may not be 1,000 immediate sales, but one book can still begin something that's very meaningful for your relationships. You can build steady readers. You can have those opportunities to speak or be a part of ministries. It's going to give you credibility and it will also give you momentum. But
Mm.
lasting momentum is usually built one faithful step at a time.
And it may not be as flashy as an overnight success story. The truth is, most overnight success stories have countless mornings and very long days, like we talked about earlier, that nobody ever saw.
Yeah. So if you have one book and a small audience, don't assume you have too little to work with. Start with what's already in your hands. Serve the readers you have, keep putting the message in front of people who need it, and give your book more than one opportunity to find a place.
Yeah, because impact is built one reader, one relationship, and one opportunity at a time.
Yeah. And we'd love to invite you because inside Book Marketing Pro Academy, we do help authors create practical ways for the right readers to discover their books, to connect with their messages, and to stay engaged beyond the sale.
Yeah, and we would so love to have you join us for the live training, the coaching, the community. It's pretty fun.
Yeah. So until next time, let's keep sharing the message God's entrusted to you and keep taking the next faithful step.
Absolutely. We will see you next time.